Good evening, I'm Pia Hontiveros. This is News.PH, but it's not politics as usual. A random manual audit checks for discrepancies in the automated count in an election. Last Friday, the results for the 2013 election RMA were out. The RMA showed a 99.975% accuracy rate for precinct count optical scan or PCOS machines. Can we say that the PCOS machines are truly reliable? We have with us the chairperson of the Parish Pastoral Council for Responsible Voting, or PPCRV, and also chairperson of the COMELEC's Technical Working Group on the Random Manual Audit, Ambassador Henrietta Tita de Villa. Good evening, ma'am. Thank you for being here. I introduced you correctly, no? I introduced you correctly?
Oh, yes.
And National Statistics Office Administrator and a member of the COMELEC's Technical Working Group, Carmelita Arita, ma'am, good evening. Thank you for being here. And Information and Communication Technology for Transparent Election, tama ba yun? .org.ph?
That's correct.
Lito Avery.
Yeah, medyo kulang lang yun dun sa Information and Communications Technology
Communications Consultant. Okay. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Pia.
And thank you all for being here, all three of our guests tonight. So let's begin all right, we have the results of the random manual audit already. They're out, and that's all well and good. But I wanted to go back first to the preparation stage. The way I understand it, it was very difficult, very challenging. Is that correct?
Well, for this time around, because in 2010 it was really very difficult because we were coming from nowhere. But with the learning curves of 2010, well, we somehow knew what we would be doing already. So the preparations were done earlier. Like, for example, as soon as COMELEC gave out the resolution appointing the three of us, Bobby's here, and then the other one is Agnes of Internal Audit Office of COMELEC. So we got to work right away. And this time, we had the secretariat. For 2010, we didn't have anyone except the three of us. And then also a place where we could meet. And we had a budget this time.
We had a budget.
Oh, okay. So hindi kayo na zero budget?
Hindi. Tsaka noon.
Ano yung sinasabi doon sa isang report na zero budget daw kayo?
Zero. In 2010, yes. No
yes.
Budget at all.
Okay,
Every time we needed anything, we had to ask. We had to ask Chairman Melo to please put somewhere where could we get this amount. No, it was very difficult because you have to deal with random manual audit team, the teachers, the training, and so on.
Yeah.
But this time, I would say
we were more organized.
More organized, and yeah.
You're getting the hang of it.
Yeah.
Well, you got the hang of it already.
But I hope this will be the last time for us because it's not easy, if only people will understand the work involved in doing the random manual audit count.
Yes, which is what we're going to get into, because I want people to understand, the difficulty, the degree of difficulty for this. Was there a lack of cooperation to retrieve, quote-unquote, RMA minutes, audit returns, ballot boxes? Was it a nightmare, or was it more just, logistical?
More difficult in 2010. That was a nightmare. But this time,
was
no.
a nightmare.
This time, no.
But this time,
Like how?
we were more systematic. This time, people knew in the precincts. They knew where they would be.
And also, even the COMELEC people in the field, the provincial election supervisors who were the coordinators, they knew and they could understand now the importance of the random manual audit. So they really did their job too.
Okay, so this was part of the setup. You mentioned the provincial election supervisors, 234?
Yes, because we chose to stick to the law. Because the law, the Public Act 9369, Section 29, only said random manual audit in one clustered precinct per legislative district. There are 234 congressional districts, so that's it.
Okay, so you had 1,000, why did you have 1,170 teachers for those 234 random manual audit
Because
teams?
this time around, instead of only 3 teachers, like
Board of
the
Election
BIS,
Inspectors,
to do the manual count,
This was
we
a different
had 5.
team.
Different team altogether.
Different.
Hindi ito yung BI ng clustered precinct.
This was a fresh team.
Okay.
That came in right after the voting was done. Right after the counting of the votes was
But
done.
they also served as members of BIs in other...
No.
not
For
even.
this
We did
election,
not allow.
Okay.
Cannot be. They are teachers. They were teachers, I mean, but who did not serve as BEI in the elections of 2013.
So how many per team?
Clustered precinct, 5.
5 of
Yes,
them.
Yes.
Okay. And then you had...
Because,
yes.
Pia, we had already a built-in verifying group. Yung 3, di ba, for counting, and then 2 for
were
verifying.
validated.
Okay, so counting me, okay, we'll get into that in a while, no? Because I want to go through the exact process kung paano ginawa. Then you had these 68 validators. What are the validators?
The validators were when the random manual audit team submitted the reports brought in by the PES to the COMELEC, to our random manual audit committee.
Yes.
Okay.
The 3 of us, yes. We had to have a set of validators to go over the reports, to see the discrepancies, if any, yes, and to see where they're, just as stated in the law, to look at the root cause of these discrepancies so that and determine their sources.
Okay, then you also had trainers because you had to do training for this is
For
an entirely different system.
the teams that went out to the field.
Okay, there were also
Transfer
20
technology, bale, kung paano nilang gagawin yung random manual audit.
iba pa, okay. There were 20 NSO personnel.
Yes, that's right.
Who did what? What did they do?
1 statistician, 2 programmers, and 17 data encoders.
Okay, and then like you said earlier, ma'am, yeah, the secretariat,
Yes.
the commissioner in charge.
It's very vital, their work, no? Because after the validators, the validating teams in COMELEC finished with all the reports and even opened some ballot boxes to count the ballots physically again to determine where the variances are coming from, which they couldn't clear as either clerical error or mathematical error. When we have cleared this and the variances are less than 10, then we give them over to NSO because they will do the processing for the analysis and so on.
Tabulation, analysis. You're analyzing what? Exactly.
It's more of the statistical analysis because the content analysis was done by the validators. And
when you say statistical analysis, ma'am, you're practically doing this on votes, hindi ba? So what exactly do you mean?
We process the data, meaning coming from the minutes and the validated audit. We enter the data into the system, and then we tabulated and we did descriptive statistical work on it.
To determine the variance, to determine the variance allowable, I mean to say how it will come as near as possible to the 99.995 accuracy rate of the PCOS demanded by the terms of reference during the bidding.
Okay, and then the precincts which were chosen, the cluster precincts, chosen at random.
At random, yes.
And how was this done? Computer or what?
Yes, there was a random number generating program developed by COMELEC, in which we validated and enhanced. And,
what do you mean by enhanced?
Mas ano siya?
Mas madaling maintindihan.
So there were visuals that were easily understood.
Okay. And it had
Let
to
me
be
clarify that selection of precinct. I understand it was done on 2 levels.
Yes.
Okay. The first round was to select
the municipalities
within a congressional district,
Within,
and then the second phase was to select the clustered precinct within the municipality.
Yes.
So that was 2 layers.
Yes.
Yes.
I understand also that the first phase was done 4 days before the elections.
3 days this
Or
time.
3 days,
Yeah.
3 days before the elections. And then the second run was like 2 days.
1 day
Or-
before.
Or 1 day before.
Pero hindi alam ng presintong yon, ng
Hindi pa.
234 clustered precinct, kung sino sila.
Hindi pa.
Walang leak.
Hopefully.
Wala na.
Pero
Hopefully,
wala,
naku, ma'am.
wala namang
naman,
ano
wala.
walang panahon.
No
We
time
did
to,
that
ano.
because last time we did the Tambiolo Pico, the
Well, it
ping
was
pong.
visually nice to see a tambiolo, and picking out ping pong balls. It was a nightmare for us because
We
We
finished
started 10 o'clock in the morning.
Finished at
We
10 in
finished
the evening.
in the evening. And by that time, it was election day.
Yeah.
And by the
Okay.
time the last precinct was chosen, some of the people had gone home
Gone
already.
home, yeah, no more.
Okay, okay. So, how was the audit actually and physically done? Halimbawa, napili na yung isang clustered precinct in that certain
Yeah,
municipality.
in the
that
congressional district.
Yeah.
The random manual audit team, the ones who will count, should be in the clustered precinct assigned to them 6 o'clock in the afternoon of election day. So that by the time the voting closes at 7, they're already there waiting to have the ballot box turned over to them by the BEI of that clustered precinct.
And none of those 234 chosen clustered precincts at random had any problems on election day, which would mean na madidelay yung random manual.
Ay, meron.
Meron din.
Meron. Of the 234, how many? Nag-happen din?
Well, I don't know the exact count, but there were some that were not able to do it as early as they thought they could, because all the process of closing the voting and so on, the
Okay.
audit logs to be printed, took a bit of time.
Yeah.
So most of them were able to conduct a random manual audit almost close to midnight, and then
Okay.
so they had to complete their job the next day na. Meron pang iba doon na mismo sa
Okay.
treasurer's office.
I
Okay,
do
so
understand
yes.
too
Yeah.
that some of the selected clustered precincts were not able to transmit. No, so there were
Yeah.
cases like those.
Yes.
Okay, okay. How did they actually do it? So they opened the ballot box,
Yes,
removed the
yes,
ballot.
they have
Counted it
And yung
again.
exactong what was the process that was followed?
The ballot box has to be sealed first before turned over to them. At any rate, when the ballot box is turned over to them, they had to open the
Open
seals
it again.
again,
Okay.
and then get out the ballot box, the ballots
ballots.
inside, and really do a manual count, as they do in the manual system, in the taras-taras.
Yung ano,
way.
Tara, so meron din
Oh,
silang
yung-
malaking election
meron.
return.
Yes, yes.
Tally sheet.
Tally
Wow.
sheet, yes.
Nostalgic.
Oo, talaga.
Ang
Parang
hirap.
nakakamiss. No, hindi.
Hindi.
Okay. So, they did a manual and then taras-taras. They physically also counted the ballots.
Yes,
They,
yes.
They looked at all the ballots.
Yes.
So, in any of those 234 precincts, merong mga balota na may mga problema.
Oh, yes.
Oo,
Yes.
pero it's more on the kailangan pagtapos ng kanilang manual counting, no? They have to see if that count, the manual count, tallies with
Matched
the,
election
AES
return.
count, the
Yeah,
electronic
the printed out, the print-out election
count.
return.
Yeah, nandun din yun
Okay.
sa yung report ng BEI, no? So they have
Okay.
to see if it matches. If it doesn't match, the verifiers, 2 of the members of the ARMA team, will go over that to see where the problem could have been. Some of the variances were already cleared at that stage, but yung iba, no, ang dami-dami. And also, yung mga clerical errors nila, and then
Sa manual
mathematical
audit,
errors, dami.
manual counting is prone to error.
Because appreciation din eh.
Because it's taras like that.
Yes,
So,
we all know
kuminsan-
how prone it is.
Oh, di ba?
5 taras plus 2 taras is 52.
Yun,
Kaya
yun.
Marikina,
Yun.
1998.
The transposition na lang, yung palagay mo, 401, pag transfer na sa words, 400, na ikakalimutan yung 1.
Yun, oh.
Sometimes they're not deliberate, pero nagkakamali because gutom na, antok pa,
Antok pa.
pagod na.
But there were no glaring discrepancies or variances.
Uy, meron,
as far as I
dami.
know. Like, can you be very specific?
For example, there were 11 ballot boxes, or the reports from those ballot boxes that we had to refer to the technical evaluation committee because after a very, very rigid validation, there were lots of variances that we could not explain.
Which
so that's not
provinces are
ours
these?
to do. One would be, tanda mo, Makati had 1,000 plus variances, and there are only 900 plus voters. So paano yun? Pero pwede mangyari because
You mean may
sometimes pag
na-overvote?
overvoting,
May overvote.
binibilang din nila, no? When you should not count anymore the position for overvotes. Because
But the PICOS was supposed to reject that kung may overvoting. Hindi ba?
kaya nga, pero sa
manual.
physical sa nabibilang din nila.
Nabibilang siya.
Okay.
Nakakalimutan
Sa
nila yung mga
manual
ganon. So,
audit.
Okay. We're talking
Ay, sa
about
manual
variances
count.
or discrepancies in the manual count itself.
Yes, yes.
Pero dun sa PICOS, sa result, the election return.
wala kaming pakialam dun sa electronic count. We will just always compare the electronic count to the manual count.
Given the electronic.
I think
Yes,
the variance that we're talking about is between the PICOS count and the manual count.
Yes.
That's the variance that we have to determine when we do the random manual audit. I was not part of the team, no? So observer lang talaga ako.
Yeah.
But do sa procedure nga, as described, you compare the election return printouts or results of the voting for senators, for example, and then compare the manual count.
It's very interesting, no? If only we had enough time to show the tabulation of NSO, because they did per candidate, because what we subjected to random manual audit was the senatorial contest and also representative,
House of Representatives.
and then also mayor, for the local. They did a very thorough tabulation of it, which shows you in every region how this fared and the counts and everything. Maganda eh. Ganda
For
yung
example,
kanila.
we found out that voters don't vote for 12 senators. On the average, they vote for only 7.
Okay. And in the region which has the least number of candidates voted for?
ARMM.
ARMM.
Five.
Five
Caraga
only.
and ARM.
Sino yung 5? Team Pinoy? Or
No,
Hindi kami nagtitingin
we didn't
na.
look at that.
didn't,
No.
Basta most of them, generally they would vote for 5. But for the national,
For
as mas
NCR,
10 ate yun?
10 ang
yeah.
average.
Mas informed sila siguro.
Yan tuloy, hindi nakapag 12-0. We'll take a short break. News.PH will be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News.PH on the Solar News Channel. I'm Pia Hontiveros. Our guests tonight, Ambassador Tita De Villa of the PPCRV, Carmelita Aricta of the National Statistics Office, and Lito Averia from the, ito na naman tayo, transparentelections.org.
Haba-haba kasi.
Okay. Sir, let's begin with you. Are you
Yes.
satisfied with the results of the random manual audit?
No, not at all. Some of the results that I've seen, and I tabulated, coming from the other watchers, because there were other watchers that gathered information on or data, while the
Of the random manual audit?
yes, on the random manual audit. So may watchers din kasi doon sa presinto nagbabantay ng RMA, no. And the initial figures that I'm coming up with is like 98.7% accuracy rate. As opposed to the 99.975 that they came up with. No? Now, of course, we're talking of percentages here, but if we can convert that into like the number of marks, no? Because our standard based on the 2010 elections was 1 out of 20,000 marks. Yun nga yung 99.995% accuracy rate. Okay. I did some computations dun sa senatorial slate, assuming like 100% fill-up rate. Although
Pero
they're
hindi
saying
nga,
it's
oo.
7, no? 7. In the manual elections, I do remember it, so it's also 7 or 8 yung fill-up
Yes.
rate. But just for the sake of computation, no? For the senatorial slate, if we consider like 52 million voters and there was a turnout of about 76%, the recent elections. So, sabihin natin 75% para madali mag-compute. That's
Ang turnout,
39.
36%
To
lang.
78%
Yeah.
Saan?
turnout rate.
7, 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but for purposes of computation, para madali, 75% of 52 million registered voters is 39 million. With, let's say, and I'm not considering here like the ballot rejections, basta 39 million ballots.
Okay.
At 100% fill-out rate nung sa senatorial slate, no, that translates to 468 million marks, vote marks, which the PICOS
Vote marks
machines,
meaning
yung shades,
Okay.
no, nationwide, 468 million marks, yung binasa ng lahat ng PICOS machines. Okay. And the 99.97 or 99.97 translates to about 140,000 variance marks. Okay? But dun sa computation ko nga, kung 98.7, that translates to about 6 million marks. Now, if the fill-up rate, kung yung fill-up rate ay 75%, no, or 8 of 12, that's about 9, no? 4.5 million marks pa rin yung questionable. Diba? That's big. That's big in terms of number of marks.
Pero Lito, I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Pero Lito, because you are basing your computation on assumptions. But this one, actual eh.
No, I
What
do
you
understand
worked
that.
on,
I do
yeah.
understand that. We have to feed in a lot more data on the assumptions, okay, to reflect nga yung, ano. We're talking of statistics here, okay?
Yes.
And statistics do project, do extrapolate, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Ma'am, Erika?
But what Lito did not mention was that they did not undergo validation.
Yeah.
Because
Correct.
manual counting is also prone to error. In fact, it's more prone to error.
Yes.
And we had to clear that first.
let me say that. The watchers' reports were also validated and verified. Okay?
But then
So
the
it's not as if
watchers' report were validated and verified by how? We validated and verified through
On
the
the
ballots
ballots
themselves. Because we
no,
retrieved the
yours
ballot
is
boxes.
through the ballot, whatever is reported there, whatever is in the tally sheet, that was what was recorded by the watchers, and we validated that. The watchers validated that. There was somebody, a group that was monitoring the reports, checking and double checking everything. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
And
You're
that would
gonna
also depend whether all of your watchers of your electoral group were able to watch the 234 precincts. No.
No,
Were they
we're
watching?
projecting from 130 out of 144 reports. No?
yeah.
Kaya nga
So you,
meron-
I'm sorry, you had
I
130
see.
watchers
Yeah.
Okay.
in the 234.
So
Yes.
it was a
Okay.
may kasamang ano yun, extrapolation.
Yes, malaki. Malaki extrapolation.
Yeah, but when you talk of statistics, when you play statistics, the numbers don't lie.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, why didn't you have watchers for all 234?
Kulang siyempre yung coverage. No? We're being realistic about yung
Yeah,
about-
because some
Yeah,
are
but,
very far.
But then,
you know,
but then
between-
whatever you're saying would
Yeah.
be further bolstered if you had like the 100%
That's right.
coverage.
Sana,
of 234.
sana.
Yeah.
But PPCRV itself was not
No,
able
we
to
did
cover
not,
the
because we
100%
thought-
precincts.
we did not, we
Kasi
did not.
binabalik naman sa kanila yung ballot box.
And not only that, PPC,
Okay.
I'd like to clarify that the random manual audit was conducted by COMELEC. I just happened to be chair of PPCRB and I was appointed chair of the RMA. But PPCRB did not. In fact, I did not ask our volunteers who watched the elections to watch anymore the random manual
Okay.
audit because I thought another group could take over, so that that's a fresh group. No?
Okay.
I mean,
Itong 99.975% accuracy rate, does that mean that our elections were clean and honest, that those who won were those who we really voted for? Let's start with you, Lito.
Again, there are other parties, putting
what,
a cloud of
not
doubt
really
to the
clean,
elections
but,
because remember, a few days after the elections, may lumabas na 60-30-10 pattern. Okay.
Which was a theory that no one ever could really put a finger
Yeah.
on, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
because it's difficult to prove.
Yes. Okay.
In the end, okay, even in the manual system, you'll come up with a national pattern.
You really
No?
will. Yeah.
National pattern yan. If you go down to the precincts, okay, that's probably where the randomness of the elections has to be measured.
Okay.
Okay, so that's again part of the statistical play.
Yeah.
There are some numerical theories that can be used to detect if there was fraud or cheating, in the elections based on the behavior of the numbers.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
So you cannot say
So,
now for
not-
sure, even
No.
after the
Not-
random
No.
manual
Even-
audit,
even
whether
use-
our elections were honest or dishonest.
Yes. So even using those statistical or numerical tools to do the analysis, they will just give you plain indicators. So out of those indicators, then we have to look at that. Let's say a specific precinct. There's an indicator there that the result is abnormal using certain numerical or statistical tools. Then we will have to investigate further.
Okay.
Okay.
So set aside the numbers, sir. So just tell me, were our elections honest or dishonest?
I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
I cannot say for
Huwag na
certain.
lang tayo mag-election kasi. Ma'am Erika, so were our elections honest or dishonest? Based on the result of this random manual audit?
Yeah, based on the exercise, I would say it was.
Yeah. I'm not scared to say.
Yeah.
It was, well, considering all factors, the automated election system works better, I would say, to give us what we could call in PPCRV champ elections, clean, honest, accurate, accountable, meaningful, peaceful.
Okay, so our elections were honest. The 2013 elections were honest.
Relatively.
Relative, I was about to go back to the numbers. But this is interesting also. No? You have a random manual audit to check an automated system. When all along what we were trying to move away from was manual elections. I remember NAMFREL always saying
it's a
92, 95, 98, 2001, 2004, 2007. Oh, we wish we would be obsolete. Diba?
That's why we wish the random annual audit this would be the last time it will be done.
Because I guess when the drafters of Republic Act 9369, the automated election system law, I guess they were still how do you call that, under the backlash of manual elections.
Traumatized.
The mindset was still there, no? So that even the lateralized thing of sending transmission, that's still that mindset was still there about manual elections,
that is manual,
because that's
yes.
what we've been used to for so long, and this is a new thing. So they thought checking it out with a manual count would be okay, and I suppose it has its purpose now, because the accuracy of the PCOS was first, what would you call that? The first exam would be the International Agency Audit, to be validated by the Technical Evaluation Committee. And then I guess this is the post-election exam to see how accurate the PCOS was.
Sir?
Yeah, but in other jurisdictions, like for example in the U.S., okay, there is, for example, a standard variance rate that is pegged on automated election systems, right? And then in some U.S. states, for example, they conduct manual audits also, okay, and compare the variance. So the rule in some U.S. states is that if the variance found between the automated count and the manual count is larger than the error rate provided, okay, by law, okay, then that triggers a manual count.
It's exactly the same for us. The same.
Exactly. What I'm saying is, though, that random manual audit is a global standard that's used to check the accuracy of the election. So why should we do away with the random manual audit?
Okay. So wait, what are we saying here? That we haven't really put any doubts to rest? Ganun ba yun?
Well, people who would always doubt and who are beyond a change of heart, can't do anything about that. No? But at least there is that check that is being done as mandated by law. I'm glad we did it. And you can see naman I mean to say 99.9775 is not a bad thing from 99.995 accuracy of the PCOS.
The other thing, though, also is you can compare the results of the random manual audit in 2010 and 2013 because they have different metrics, okay? Whereas in 2010, we were guided only by the 99.995% accuracy rating that we had to measure, okay? This time, it took another, there were two steps that was taken based on COMELEC Resolution 995 as amended by 9647. First was Section 12, if I recall correctly, said if there's an allowable margin of 10 per candidate per position, then that goes into verification by the RMA, the RMAC committee or the RMA committee. Then Section 13 says, if the aggregate exceeds an allowable margin of 10, again, you sum up all the variances, after subjecting to the first phase, then another allowable margin of 10, then that's subjected to review again.
Right.
So now,
That's what was precisely was done by the validation.
That's what was
precisely, exactly all those steps that Tito is saying were processed by the validators.
yes, but let me cite the news item where you said that the threshold, okay, or the bar was lowered no? Allowing for
No, for the PCOS machine to recognize a ballot. It's not the threshold for the RMA or anything like that. It's
There was no
to
threshold
lower
in
the threshold of the PCOS machine in
Okay.
recognizing a vote. The shading, rather, the shading.
No.
Okay,
Yun nga
okay.
yung allowable, yung allowable margin of 10 per candidate per position, tapos allowable number of 10 again, no? Variance counts.
Yeah, this is what elections do to us. We go overtime. So we have to end now or else pagkagalitan na ako.
Before we end, one of our recommendations is that there should be some kind of a program or some kind of voters education
Yes.
that will also render reverence and respect for our elections, because our elections create our governments, no? So that it's not every Tom, Dick, and Harry that can throw stones at our
Right.
electoral system
Right. Okay.
without even proving the fraud that they say happened, no? I think it's high time, even if we're in a democracy, that there must be some kind of respect accorded to the elections.
In other words, at a certain point, dapat tumigil na ang mga duda. Parang ganon.
Bahala naman sila
Bahala
kasi
na
this is a free
Okay,
country.
pero, okay, very quickly. But we will still, we should still use PCOS 2016 dito.
I don't know, by that time, that would have been 6 years old.
Tingnan natin, Carmelita Arita, NSO ma'am.
Definitely, there should be an automated election system as to whether it is PCOS or another brand or whatever. It should be automated already.
Right. And
Well,
Ambassador De Villa.
The same for me. No matter what mishaps or malfunctions they say, automated elections is definitely 100% better than manual. For the PCOS machines, since they spent a lot on this, they can still use that, provided the storage is good, provided also that the testing and retesting happens way before 2016, and so
Okay.
that there is transparency. They should involve IT people of goodwill to be
Of
part
goodwill.
of those testing
Yung of
things.
badwill.
Well, that's not for me
Nako,
to
ibang
determine.
episode na yan. Thank you very much for joining us, Ambassador De Villa, Chairperson Iricta, and Mr. Veria. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, and thank you for joining us. See you again next Wednesday. I'm Pia Hontiveros. This is News.PH. Good night.